Hi everybody, welcome to this week's Facebook Live. Um, Thank you to everyone who's joining us, and as always, if you have any questions or comments during the live, feel free to put them in the comments section. Tiffany is here and she's going to help me figure out and keep track of the questions and comments. Keep in mind we do have a lag, so there is going to be some time between when you comment or ask a question and when I actually talk about it. But okay, so for those of you who don't know, my name is Lily and I am the current AmeriCorps member here at the West Valley Outdoor Learning Center. And in honor of tomorrow, which is the first day of spring, we are going to do our live today about spring. So spring is a time of new life, rebirth, growth, and it brings a lot of baby animals, insects, flowers, and greenery. Spring is actually one of probably my favorite season because I love how warm it is and I love that you're able to go outside again, and I'm really not a fan of the cold or snow. So I want to know what your guys' favorite seasons are and why. Why do you like maybe summer, or why maybe you like spring too? Why do you like it? So put it in the comment section and we'll keep going. Oops. So, does anyone out there know why we have seasons? Basically, it's because the earth is tilted on an axis, like this picture and this one, and it rotates around the sun. So there are two hemispheres in the earth. There's the northern hemisphere, which is up here, and the southern hemisphere, which is down here. So we live in the northern hemisphere. The southern hemisphere would be like Australia or places in South America. When the earth is tilted towards the sun, that's when the northern hemisphere is tilted towards the sun, that's when we have summer. And at the same time, the southern hemisphere is going to be pointed away from the sun, and that's when they have winter. So if you think about it, that means that like in the winter, when we have our winter holidays, places like Australia and other places in the southern hemisphere are actually in summer. So when it's snowy and cold here, and it's going to be hot and sunny over in Australia. So can you imagine celebrating winter holidays like Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, or whatever you celebrate in shorts and a tank top instead of like boots and super warm jackets? But that's how it is there. So anyway, as the earth continues to rotate around the sun, it can get closer or farther away from the sun depending on the tilt of the earth. So spring in the northern hemisphere happens when the earth is tilted near the sun but not totally tilted towards the sun, because then that would be summer. So this is kind of where the sun would be, same with that picture, if it were spring in the northern hemisphere. If it was winter, the sun would be on the other side. So let's go to the next slide. So spring is actually a great time to begin planting crops and flowers, things to grow. The ground is going to be soft and wet and moist from all melting snow or rain. And the sun, as I was saying, is getting closer to the earth, and it actually is going to be warming up the ground, and it makes it great for flowers and planting. So the flowers on this slide are actually some that you would see in spring, or ones that maybe will be blooming in spring. And in Japan, they actually mark the beginning of spring when the cherry blossoms bloom. So this top picture is of cherry blossoms. We also see those here in Washington in some of the farms that have cherries. So once flowers begin to bloom, the next thing we see are pollinators, which can include insects. So a pollinator is an animal or an insect that travels from flower to flower and picks up pollen, and they help the plant to grow and spread. So basically, pollinators are the reasons that we have flowers in a lot of the plants and food that we have. Can you guys think of any pollinators? All of the ones that are on this slide are actually pollinators, but there are so many more. Some common pollinators are butterflies and bees, and actually bats can also be pollinators. So I've actually already seen a couple bees outside, and bees are very important. Honeybees are actually the world's most important pollinator, and this is because honeybees there are more honeybees in the world than there are any other type of pollinator, including other types of bees. And bees, as you know, produce honey, but as I was saying, pollinators can help make the food that we have, all of our crops. So honeybees pollinate around 80% of the crops in the US. So these are things like apples, pears, green beans, strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, blackberries. Basically any kind of fruit or vegetable, or even some grasses that start as a flower and then turn into like a fruit or a vegetable. That's what bees pollinate. So without bees and other pollinators, we actually wouldn't be able to have flowers and like these big fields of flowers that we see. They're the reason we have them. Bumblebees are also very important for pollinating. They're a small, super fuzzy kind of bee. They look kind of like fuzzy little teddy bears that are like black and yellow. But bumblebees and a few other species of bees are actually going extinct due to pesticides and climate change, because the weather and the temperatures are changing and fluctuating so much. It's hard for these insects to survive. So I'm sure some of you are probably afraid of bees because they can sting you, and that's legitimate fear. But like a lot of other animals, bees aren't going to sting you unless you're giving them a reason. So if a bee is coming near you, it's probably because it smells something that's really sweet. So maybe you're eating cake and the bee comes over and is like, hey, I want some of that cake too. But all you have to do is just take a cake and slowly walk away, and the bee will eventually get tired and leave. And just stay calm, walk slowly, and get away from that area. That's all you have to do. You don't need to run and scream. So, next, as we get into spring, some adults and people are going to start getting into yard work. So this means raking, mowing, and you might be tempted to get rid of weeds. And I want to encourage you not to kill all of your weeds right away, especially ones that are flowering. Like I was saying, bees are just starting to come out, and they're waking up because it's getting warmer. But these bees don't have any flowers or anything to eat yet. Oh, Jamie, I see you love bumblebees and cake. Yay, I love them too. And thank you for tuning in. So if you're able to keep these little flowers, which might be weeds, in your yard for a little bit until at least some other flowers start to bloom, that'll give something for these bees to eat and stay alive. If you look outside, there really aren't many flowers yet. So the more we can do to keep these bees around and able to pollinate and make more of those flowers that were on the other slide, the more we can do to help, the better. So moving on from bees, another part of spring, like I was saying, is mowing, raking your yard. But there are a ton of insects, frogs, and other wildlife that live in these grasses. of your yard, like during the winter and then even into the spring. And I actually want to let you guys look at these top two pictures on the slide. So in this picture, there are animals hiding. I want you to try and find them and tell me how many there are in the comments section. And then in this picture, there's another animal that's hiding. There's actually a lot in that picture, and I want you guys to tell me what animal you think it is in both pictures. So as you guys put in your comments, I'm going to keep talking, but some animals you might find in your yard, depending on where you live, might be things like baby birds that have fallen out of nests, or ones that even nest on the ground. There could be baby deer or fawns, baby elk that hide in the grass while their mother is out, so they can stay safe. There could even be like baby bobcats or fox kits that are hiding. And there are actually even rabbits. Rabbits will have young throughout the spring and into the summer, and they will have their babies really close to the grass, the top of the grass. And really, the only way to tell if you have rabbit babies in your lawn is if there's a dead spot of grass on top. So Jamie guesses that there are deer, and I'm assuming this picture, and she's close. So now I guess I will just go ahead and reveal what it is. So this top picture has 3 elk. They are elk babies in there. So Jamie was really close with deer, and you can see they're really, really hard to see. So if you go out and these elk babies or deer, you might also see deer, might not move, and that's because they're hiding. They're trying to stay where their mom told them, because their mom's going to come back and get them eventually. And this is normal. You don't want to go out and try to, say, rescue these animals, because they don't need rescuing. So let's look at the other picture now. So that's actually rabbits. Like I said, they're really hard to see, and basically it just looks like a dead spot on your lawn. So I'm actually going to show you a video, and this shows just how well these baby rabbits are hidden. So this is basically just someone's lawn, and you saw it was just a patch of grass that looked like dead grass and some leaves, and there are baby rabbits in there. So this shows just how well the mom hides these rabbits, and the mom will be out and gone for most of the day, and finding food and water and just other things, and she will come back. Especially with rabbits, they tend not to come back unless they see that there is no one around, or can hear that there is no one around, because they want their babies to stay hidden really well. And that's true of a lot of animals. So if you do find baby bunnies or other babies in your yard, you want to make sure not to touch them. Most of the time with rabbits and some other babies you might find, they might be blind, and they're probably afraid. So just don't touch them. Let their mom deal with them. Okay, so, oops. So before I go into the picture, I want to stress again that you never want to touch a baby animal if you see one. Most of the time, like 99.9% of the time, the mother is going to be watching from a distance. They see you there, and they don't want to come and expose their babies. And sometimes animal moms might not come back for a while, especially if you are standing there and watching and trying to make sure that the mom comes back. The mom might see you. So just take a step back, maybe watch from your house, and if it's only been like maybe a day or so, and if you are 100,000,000% sure that the mom is not coming back, that's when maybe you can call an animal rehabber or a wildlife rescue, and they can tell you what to do. I want to stress that the West Valley Outdoor Learning Center is not an animal rehabber. We are not a wildlife rescue center. So if you do find baby animals, we can't take them. We can help you find someone who can, but we cannot take them. So this picture is actually, or this kind of diagram is actually pretty good to follow for any kind of baby animal, even though this is just for baby birds. But I'm going to take you through it now. So if you find a baby in your yard or around your neighborhood, and you're thinking, what do I do? Is this baby in danger? First thing you want to do is look and see if it's hurt. Is this baby injured? Does it have a broken foot or a broken wing? Anything like that. If it is, then the first thing you want to do is call a licensed wildlife rehabber or rehabilitation center. And like I said, we can help you, hook you up with places, but all you'd have to do is just Google wildlife rehabilitator near me, and you should be able to, some should pop up. So if it is not visibly injured, then you're going to want to look at, if it's a bird, does it have feathers? For another animal, you might want to see, can it see? Can it walk? Just basic things that all animals should kind of be able to do. And if the answer is no, then that's probably going to be a nestling bird, so really young baby. And that's true of any other animal. It's going to be really young. If you can see a nest, or if you can, it's best not to touch them, but if you can, then return it gently to that nest. If you can't find the nest, then you can put it in like a little box, put a box up on a tree, and the mom will come down and feed the bird from that box. If you can't see a nest, that's another reason you're going to want to call a wildlife rehabilitation center. And really, if it's any animal, any kind of mammal that you see, then I would just go ahead and call a rehabilitation center just to be safe. So if that bird, though, if it does have feathers, or if it's a, I don't know, not a full-grown animal, but still not a super baby like the nestling birds, then the first thing you want to ask yourself is if it's in danger. If that animal is in danger, so say that this bird is in the middle of a road, or it's in a backyard where there's a lot of pets that could easily get it, then you would move it to a spot where it's more sheltered, where something like a pet won't be able to get to it. I recommend a bush. A lot of these birds that are not super fully grown yet are trying to fly. They're learning to fly, and it's totally normal for them to be on the ground. They fall a lot, so it's common, and that's okay, and that's normal. And a lot of smaller animals, for mammals, they might leave their parents maybe sooner than you think they would, and that's why you're seeing them. But it's normal, and that's what we have to remember, is that even though we might want to help something and be there and want to do our best, it's best sometimes just to let nature be, because that's what they're meant to do, and they're built to handle it. Most animals don't need help and are completely fine without human interference, but like I said, if the animal is in danger, you can safely and carefully move it. But that's like last resort. Okay, so now I want to end on kind of a super happy note. So this video is actually of a bunch of pollinators around the US, and a lot of them you can find here in Washington. So right now, if you guys have any questions or comments, you can feel free to put them in the comment section and I'll answer them after the video. And we should have fixed all the issues we have with sound in the past, but if you notice that we are having some issues hearing things, there's just music that's playing, comment and I will try to fix that. Okay. So that was a clip from, like I said, Disney's Wings of Life. So that's all I've got for today, for today's live about spring. If you guys have any questions or comments, put them in the comment section now. We're going to post this on our YouTube page, so you will be able to see the replay there as well as on Facebook. I think that's everything. Tiffany, do we have anything? Okay. So it was great talking to all of you, and we will see you next week. Bye.